I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for July 17th, 2025. Thank you for joining me. We have lots to talk about tonight. I'm kind of sad because this is my last Skraby Show for a little while. Definitely, maybe next Wednesday because they're playing a day game against the Marlins, and it starts, I believe, at 9:10 a.m., which is kind of early. But hey, what do we do? What do we do? We wake up and we get it done. Let me make sure if that's 9:10. Now that I've told everybody it's 9:10. See, I'm already second guessing myself already. And it's only maybe 1 minute into the show. But we're going to find this out together just so I am telling everybody the truth. Yes, it's at 9:10 a.m. Okay. Whew. I got it right. We're going to talk about Braden Sopranit's guest earlier, Bill Shaken. And he had some information about the upcoming collective bargaining agreement for Major League Baseball. And he gets into the salary cap, the salary floor, and I think this is going to be a big deal. And more than a couple years ago, last time they did the CBA, we were working here on the station, and we didn't know if the season was going to start on time. It didn't start on time, but it didn't start too late. But I don't think baseball can afford to have a work stoppage at any time in the future because it's kind of, I think people who are baseball fans and pay attention to baseball understand that sometimes some of these players are a little, maybe not underpaid, definitely not underpaid, but they're not getting the slice of the pie that they should because the teams are making billions of dollars versus players making millions of dollars. And so I think that when you look at it as a fan or maybe just a fringe fan, and you hear that the players are holding out so that they don't, get more money. And they already have enough money type of thing. And I think that's a bad look. And it's working against the players, even though it's not necessarily their fault. It's not it's not necessarily their fault because when you put the numbers up, you see how much the owners are making. But at the same time, no one's going to see the owners. No one really knows who the owners are, but they are seeing the players and they know who the players are. So it's, I guess, easier to look at a player and say, hey, you're greedy than it is to an owner because you're not really understanding the full picture of everything. But I think that they need to do anything possible in order to avoid a work stoppage. I really think it's a big deal, a very, very big deal. All right, I'm going to start with this and then we'll get back into the CBA. But I wanted to start the show with something that it was a major Matt Skraby foot and mouth moment. And this happened last week. And I've been deciding whether or not I wanted to say this, but now that I've just sat here for the last hour thinking about what to talk about, I thought it would be fun for me to throw myself under the bus and tell a story. So I was talking to someone last week, and we were talking about names, and I was talking about someone that I knew, and I hope I don't offend anyone because I've learned my lesson about just blurting out things, but actually, I'm not even going to say that because I don't want to upset people. But I go, man, that name, if you have this name, then you're kind of weird because it's not really a name. It's more of an emotion. Well, that person looked at me and said, that's my middle name. And my face turns immediately bright red. And I feel like I'm shrinking into like a tiny little Matt Skraby. And I felt really bad. And I didn't know what to do. And so I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to take this on the chin. And I took it on the chin. So note to self, don't talk about other people's names if you don't know their names. Because if you don't know their name, you risk angering them or irking them about talking or saying something about their name. It was awkward. And I got to say, the person handled it well, but I was very, very embarrassed. So the reason I'm telling this is for a note to self, to myself. Also, everybody out there, take my advice. You don't want to be stuck in this situation. You don't want to be the guy who says the name and then makes fun of the name, and then that person says, "Hey, that's my name." So I wanted to start with that because it's ridiculous. I couldn't believe that I did it. I didn't even want to say it, but over time I felt a little bit better about it. And now we are where we're at. And so I said it, and it's out there. But I'm not going to say the name just because I don't want to offend anyone else, because I do feel bad about it. It's not something that I feel like, put my foot in my mouth. Like, oh, well, no, I ruminate. I think about it, and I really try not to do it again, because I like to treat people with respect. But yeah, it was such a Matt Skraby moment, and I think people who are familiar with me can kind of understand and visualize how this all went down, because it was one of those moments where I was like, why did you do that? And they were cool about it. But anyway, note to self and note to yourself as well. All right, let's get back to the CBA real quick. And then later in the show, we're going to go through the Padres' second half schedule. We're also going to, at the end of the show, there was someone completed the Rubik's Cube in 3 seconds. And so I want to talk about the Rubik's Cube a little bit, because I am not good at the Rubik's Cube whatsoever. It's not my forte. The Rubik's Cube is not my forte. But back to the collective bargaining agreement. Now, Braden had Bill Shaken of the LA Times on his show a little bit earlier today, and they were talking all about the CBA. And again, this is going to happen in December of 2026 is when this CBA expires. So we have one more full season of baseball before they go back to the bargaining tables, and it's going to get ugly, I believe. And it's going to get ugly because owners really want a salary cap, and owners really want a salary, or I don't know if they want a salary floor, but I think that it goes hand in hand with a salary cap and a salary floor. A salary cap helps the owners because then they don't have to pay their players as much as Juan Soto's getting paid, like 15 years, $750 million or whatever it was. They're going to tell them, well, we can't pay you that because it's going to put us over the cap. And baseball is the only sport without some sort of regulation in this. Like, it's just a free-for-all. And so that's why you see teams that in the past, like the Yankees, spent a lot of money. Dodgers have spent a lot of money. Padres have definitely spent a lot of money. But there are other teams that don't spend enough money, and so that's why you need the salary floor. But Bill Shaken of the LA Times was asked by Braden to kind of give an overview on the salary cap and where things are at right now.
So the last time that Major League Baseball lost actual games, not spring training games, but actual regular season games because of a work stoppage was in 1994 and 95, when the players went on strike because the owner said, we don't want to do a deal without a salary cap. Eventually, the players came back. The owner settled for a deal that did not include a salary cap. And ever since then, that's sort of the holy grail for the owners who look at every other major league that has a salary cap and wonder why they can't get one themselves. This time, the owners, and we're a year and a half out now, so things could change, they seem united enough to want a salary cap. And what I mean is the interests of, say, the Dodgers are going to be different than the interests of, say, the Milwaukee Brewers. The market sizes, the revenue, all that. But for the most part, the owners seem to want to go at least give a good shot at getting a salary cap. The players still don't want it. And if those positions become actual negotiating offers, I think we're going to have a 2027 season in jeopardy.
That's the worst case scenario for baseball. A 2027 season in jeopardy. Again, I started the show saying this, and I'll say it again. If the players decide that they do not want to show up for work because they aren't getting what they want to get, then it's going to look bad for them. I can't think of any other way, because there are so many people out there struggling, and there are so many people working paycheck to paycheck. I'm not a guy who makes a lot of money. I'm not a guy who's able to buy nice cars and stuff like that. So I do understand that sentiment of, these guys already make enough money. These guys already have what they need. So why are they trying to lock out because they want more money or they want no salary cap? I understand that sentiment 100%. And I agree with it from this perspective. They definitely make a lot of money. You got some players making over $400 million, over $300 million for their contracts. But then you got other guys who don't make much money at all. And so the salary cap would help with that a little bit, I think, because it would, maybe help guys get a little bit more money. But for the most part, we're talking about the big name players who are getting paid the most. And those guys don't want to give it up. The everyday guy, the guy who fights his way onto the team and fights day by day to stay on the team, they're not going to be worried about this. You know what they're going to be worried about? They're going to be worried about keeping a job that pays them. And so what are they going to do? Because if they don't play, if they don't have a season, then players aren't going to get paid. So I hope that baseball players, the Baseball Player Association, MLBPA, I hope that they kind of bring that to the attention of others. Like, you guys make a lot of money. Some of these guys don't. And if they aren't working, then they're going to struggle. And so I remember Steven Wilson was on their show years ago. And he said that Steven Wilson had to do Uber during the pandemic because there was, no baseball happening. And so he wasn't making any money. And there's nothing wrong with Uber, but he's a baseball player. He was a professional baseball player. He wanted to be a professional baseball player. And the reason that he was in Uber was COVID. And I understand that COVID's a completely different thing, but I'm using Steven Wilson as an example, because if that Steven Wilson in 2020 he would be the prime candidate for what I'm talking about, a guy who would struggle if they didn't have a season. And I do not like, and anybody who has listened to me over the years, that I do not like greedy billionaires. I do not like it. Billionaires, some of these owners care, obviously, but there are some out there that are just in it for the money, and they don't really care if their team does well. Dick Monfort kind of seems like that guy. Their attendance is fine. They're making money. He's not spending a lot of money, so he's happy because he's getting a return on his investment. But what Chris and I talked about earlier in the week makes so much sense. The Rays were purchased in early 2000s for $200 million. And the guy who just bought it, let me get the right number. I didn't plan on going in the Rays direction, but I want to make sure I have the right number for how much they sold it for. The Rays, $1.7 billion. That's what they were purchased for. So the person who sold off the Rays is making a massive amount of money off of this sale. And that should tell you a little bit of something, because mid 2000s, it was purchased for $200 million. And then it was sold this year for $1.7 billion. That's a massive increase. And it keeps going up and up and up and up and up. I do think baseball is getting a little bit more popular. So that's what the players are going to point to. They're going to be like, hey, you can sell your team for what is that, like 10 times what you paid for it, and you guys aren't passing any of it down to us. So that's where this argument is going to get serious. The players are not going to back down. The owners are not going to back down. But in the end, if baseball shuts down, both sides are going to hurt. Owners are going to hurt less than players, but the fans are going to suffer the most. because we have nothing to do with this at all. And once the owners start losing a little bit of money, maybe they'll come around. But a salary cap in baseball, as much as I say I want it, I just don't think it's a good thing right now, because there's so many different aspects to it, and there's so many different angles to a salary cap. And you got teams like the Yankees with the Yes Network, you got the Red Sox with Nesson, and you got other teams that own and have a TV contract, like the Dodgers with Spectrum Sportsnet. And so they don't want to share that money. And if you go to a salary cap thing, are you going to do revenue sharing then? Because then you're going to have to deal with another thing that you have to deal with is the TV situation, the streaming situation. So there's a lot of work to be done with baseball in the next couple of years. And it makes me worried a little bit. It does, because I've kind of seen these things play out a little bit. And the last time, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if they were going to come to an agreement. So it's scary. It is. Makes me a little bit nervous. Before we go to break, Bill Shaken on a salary floor.
In the last round of labor talks, the owners actually did propose a salary cap and a salary floor. And the owners know that a salary cap would never fly without a salary floor, because that would be part of your pitch to the players. You know, if you look over the past, say, 10 to 20 years with the rise of analytics, a lot of teams have figured out if we stop paying players for what they did and we pay players based on what we think they're going to do going forward, we don't need to play the 34-year-old guy and pay him $5 million when we got a guy in our farm system who might do just as well, and he's going to make $700,000. So the argument for a floor would be, hey, all those guys that would have got those $5 million jobs to be backups, you can get some of those guys jobs again. That's the pitch to the mass of the Players Association. It is certainly not the pitch to every player who thinks, if I strike it rich in free agency, am I going to be able to get as much money as I can in the open market?
And there you go. I didn't hear that clip before. Well, I did hear the clip before, but I was already thinking it. Bill Shaken, though, pretty spot on there. And again, I'm a little nervous about the CBA. Now, can we forget about it until the end of the season? Yeah, why not? Let's forget about it and focus on the Padres. Last thing, Jack says, history repeats itself. History definitely does repeat itself. I'm listening to a podcast about that. I can't remember the name of the podcast right now, or I would share it with you, but it's just about how history constantly keeps coming back around. And you would think we would learn from the history that we have and the situations that we've been in before, but it doesn't seem like we learn that much from it. All right, I'm off my soapbox now. When we get back, we're going to go through the Padres' remaining schedule, and I'll tell you how many teams they play under 500, and we'll talk a little bit about what they need to do to make sure they're in the playoffs when we get back on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. These things, it even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here, don't hit it here.
Skraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole, nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Scrape. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
These things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Skraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Scrape. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
These things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Skraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
I think I just found my daily gripe for the day. I'm gonna go write it down right now because I'm tired of dealing with one thing. And I'm not actually complaining about it. It's just been annoying. It's just been very annoying. Rod says on the chat, MLB needs to break bread with the fans too. I think that's true. I go to so many games. You give me so much money. It's never going to happen, obviously. Why would that happen? Welcome back into the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan. Matt Skraby. We have Padres baseball tomorrow. I know everybody's very excited about that. Padres baseball will be happening tomorrow in Washington, D.C. First pitch, 3:45, and a pregame show with Sammy Lev, who I haven't talked to this week. I hope he's doing okay. I haven't heard from him at all. Actually, I saw on social media that he ate a piece of ziti pizza, which looked a little strange to me. You already have a lot of carbs on a pizza, but you're going to put pasta on top of a pizza? It's very strange to me. But Sammy left. Back tomorrow. looking forward to seeing him here in studio. If you want to follow me on social media, you can at Matt Skraby, MattsKraby as in boy Y. I am on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. You can watch 97.3 The Fan. You can also go to 97.3 The Fan or search 97.3 The Fan on YouTube, and you can watch on my Twitter. Also, there's a super secret Skrabinator chat. If you would like to go to that, you can go to youtube.com/at the Skraby Show, the at symbol, then the Skraby Show. So please do that. And when you're at the YouTube, subscribe. I never really say that stuff, but hey, why not? That's what people do, right? I see it in videos all the time. I'm not a shameless self-promoter like that. I wish I could be at times be a shameless self-promoter. I'm not a big fan of that or doing that myself. Like I see people in videos all the time. Oh, well, and they give you the content like for the first like 3 minutes, and then they go, oh, well, if you want to see more of this, and they stop down and they go, subscribe here. I'm not really like that, but hey, albeit today, go to my YouTube, The Skraby Show, at The Skraby Show, and subscribe to it, please. All right, the Padres schedule. They are going to have a really, really, really tough August. September's easier, but their August is going to be very, very difficult. So let's get into that, because I think that the Padres, you'll see here that the Padres do have a pretty good path towards a good wild card spot, maybe the division. I'm just going to talk about a wild card spot. But I think they have a good path in there because we know that they're very good against teams that are below 500. And they start right out of the break with 6 games with teams below 500. And actually, those two teams combine for 27 games below 500. Sorry, I was checking the schedule to make sure I had this right. Nationals are 20 games under 500, so they're much worse than the other team that they're going to play in the second series, which is the Marlins. They are 6 games under 500. So you're talking about a combined 27 games below 500 there. You have to clean up in these series. You do. You have to win 2 of 3 from both. And I think you have to maybe sweep one, because you got to beat up on the bad teams and stack those W's so that you can get a good spot in the wild card. Then after those 6 games against the Nationals and Marlins, they go to St. Louis, and then they come back home and they play the Mets. So the next 7 games against those teams, they're combined 18 games over 500. The Cardinals are 5 over 500. The Mets 13 over 500. Cardinals are a weird team because some say they're going to sell, and some say they're not. Some say they're going to fall off at the end. Some say they're going to rise at the end. So basically opinion all over the place on the Cardinals. I did see an article today predicting all the different trades, or it was one big thing that's going to happen to each team in the second half. And Mike Axisa of CBS Sports predicted that the Dodgers are going to trade for Ryan Helsley, the Cardinals closer. And that scares me a tiny bit, but if the Cardinals sell their closer, that means they're doing pretty bad, right? Anyway, the Padres are going to play 4 games with them starting next Thursday is the first game of that series. And then the Padres come home July 28th. They play the Mets. The Mets are a good team. The Mets always play the Padres tough. I feel like the Padres always lose to the Mets, but that's going to be a good series for the Padres to be like, hey, where are we at? Not a measuring stick series. Just we need to win some games. We need to win some tough games. Can we do that? Then they, after the Mets, they have 3 against the Cardinals at home, which starts their August. And this is when it gets crazy. They have 3 against the Cardinals at home. We already said the Cardinals are 5 over 500. They have 3 against Arizona, and there are 3, and those games are on the road. They are 3 games under 500. But there's one thing about the Diamondbacks that I think we all know, is that they always play the Padres tough. And the Padres have already lost 2 of 3 at Arizona this year, and they split the 4-game series last week. So I can't say that the Diamondbacks are going to be an easy team to beat, because they're just not. Then after that, they come back home and they play 3 games against the Red Sox, who are 8 games over 500. The Red Sox came here a couple years ago, and the Padres did not fare well. All right, I think Rafael Devers, the game I went to was Friday night. I think Rafael Devers hit a massive home run, maybe even 2. But they're going to play and I know he's not on the team anymore. I'm just saying the last time they were here, the Red Sox cleaned up. But the Padres are going to play 3 at home against the Red Sox. Then the real gauntlet. And this is the gauntlet I think that could be make or break for the Padres, because they have 2 weeks, 2 full weeks of playing the Giants or the Dodgers. And I don't know why Major League Baseball does this. I don't, because it doesn't make sense to me why they put the Dodgers against the Padres in back-to-back weeks both times this year. And they didn't even put them in September. I'd rather see it in September. But this gauntlet of National League West is going to see 3 against the Giants on the road, 3 against the Dodgers on the road. Then the Padres come home, 4 at home against the Giants, and 3 at home against the Dodgers. So those 2 weeks right there, 3, 6, 10, 13 games could really tell you where the Padres are headed. And keep in mind, this is past the trade deadline. So it could be a completely new team. There could be some new players. But when you're playing the 2 teams that you absolutely have to do well against in your own division, and you could control your own destiny against, especially the Giants in my mind, you want to keep the Giants back there a little bit. And again, you could get to August, the middle of August, and the Giants aren't that good. But as we sit right now, 3 against the Giants on the road, 3 against the Dodgers, 4 at home against the Giants, and 3 at home against the Dodgers in 2 weeks. That's going to tell you a lot about where the Padres are going to end up. Then after that gauntlet, you have 3 at Seattle, who already swept the Padres at home, and they're a tough team. And then you have 3 against the Twins, who are 2 under. And those Twins games are actually going to be in Minnesota. So they're on the road for that. Then in September, things get a little bit easier. September is a month that they can do well, but they have to get through August 1st. Not only chronologically, but also they have to make it through August healthy. They have to make it through August doing damage. September, they start 3 at home against the Orioles, who are 9 games under, and every indication is that the Orioles are going to sell. So I don't expect the Orioles to be very good. Then you have 3 at Colorado, which, by the way, Colorado 52 games under 500 right now. That is crazy. And then you come back home, 3 against the Reds, who are 3 over. And by that point in September, the Reds might be out of it. But I think the Reds are a scarier team than people are giving them credit for. I don't, the youth of the team maybe will hurt them in the end because they don't have the playoff experience or the big game experience. But the Reds are not a pushover. Then after the Reds, you have 4 at home against the Rockies. So that's good. You have 7 games in September against the Rockies. You have 3 at the Mets, 3 at the White Sox, who are 33 games under 500. And then you come home to finish the season, 3 at home against the Brewers, who are very good, possibly, most likely going to win the National League Central. Or no, I'm sorry, not. I'm thinking of the American League Central. The Cubs, they're going to have to beat the Cubs out for first place. So the Brewers are probably playing for a wild card spot with the Padres. And then you close the season at home with 3 against the Diamondbacks, which, again, tough team. So I really think that this start to the second half is going to be more important than we think it is, because it's almost like the start to the season that the Padres had, 14-3. We still talk about how they're kind of riding on that 14 games that they won in the beginning of the year. And if they can come out and they can go 4-2 in their first 6 games against losing teams, or even 5-1, I'm saying that they probably should go 5-1 against the Nationals and Marlins. I think the Marlins get them in 1 game, but they have to start the second half as well as they finished the second half, which was 2 wins against the Phillies. So the schedule lines up to be easier in September, which we like, but it's really tough in August, and you're going to have to figure it out, Padres. You're going to have to get through August, make sure you keep yourself in a wild card spot just to get to September, and maybe beat up on some teams that are just looking for the end of the year at that point. You think the Rockies want to be there? No. They want to go home because they might be like 75 under 500 by that point. Rockies are really bad. And the White Sox, it's nice that they get to play the White Sox too. All right, that is what the Padres are facing here with the last 2 months of the season, and I'm excited for it. I can't believe we're already at this point. Like, trade deadline is going to be here in 2 weeks. I cannot believe we're already at this point, but we are. And another Padres season that I think people are very excited about. There's some that are not so excited about it, but I think people are excited about this season, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends. All right, when we get back, the NFL, real quick, I want to update you on something about the NFL. There was a big time signing today, extension, I guess, by the Steelers, and I'll tell you who they extended, and also that guy who solved the Rubik's Cube in 3 seconds. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Rubik's Cube. So stick with me. One more segment here on Skraby Show 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and Chris on The Fan.
Here he is with his election update, our producer, Mr. Matt Skraby.
Padres are starting back up their season tomorrow, and they are going to be throwing Dylan Cease out there to start the second half. And I keep saying second half, and even though I complained about second half being weird earlier, it's just easier. But Dylan Cease is going to start tomorrow. Yu Darvish is going to start Saturday, and Nick Pivetta is going to start Sunday. So 3 really, really good pitchers to start for the Padres. And again, they have to beat up on the Nationals and the Marlins. It's just not an option in my mind. It's not an option in my mind. All right, let's get into this story about the Rubik's Cube kid. And I'm going to put it up on the screen. So if you want to see it later, you can go to 97.3 The Fan or YouTube and search 97.3 The Fan. But I have never, ever been able to figure out Rubik's Cubes. Like, it is just not something I am good at. It would take me... You know what I should do, actually? Maybe I should get a Rubik's Cube and work on it here and there during the show and see how long it takes me to solve the Rubik's Cube. Because I think it would take me a long time. I don't understand how people are so good at the Rubik's Cube. And if you don't know what a Rubik's Cube is, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Just Google Rubik's Cube. But there is a tournament. I mean, of course, there's a tournament. There's like a cup stacking tournament as well. There's tournaments for everything. But there is a kid. I don't even know if he's a kid by looking at him, but it looks like an event for children, or at least teenagers. I shouldn't say children. But here is the craziest part. The world record for the Rubik's Cube was broken recently. And I'm going to play the audio. You're not going to really hear anything, but listen to how crazy these kids go for this guy to break the Rubik's Cube record. And so he's looking at it. They uncover it. He gets to take a look at it first. So he looks around, comes up with his plan, and then he has to put it back down before he starts. And then once he starts, he goes. And then he's moving everything. And he's going, and done. Yes! Seriously, that is how fast he did it. 3.134 seconds. And listen to all these kids. There's kids like, don't get near it. They're taking videos. It's pretty hilarious to me that all these kids are like so excited about this. But that is crazy. Here it is again. I'm gonna tell everybody in the radio, or in the radio that are in their cars right now and can't see this. I'm gonna tell you when he starts, and I'm gonna tell you when he finishes, and that's how quick he solves a Rubik's Cube. So he's looking at it, starts, done. That is incredible. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like that is incredible. I would not be great at the Rubik's Cube, as I said, but 3.134 seconds? Like, how does anybody do that? How? I don't understand it. But the Rubik's Cube world record has been broken. Anybody on the chat? Rubik's Cube people? Is there anybody on the chat that has been able to solve a Rubik's Cube? I don't know. Uh-oh. Please don't drive in YouTube, people. Please don't drive in YouTube, because I did this whole thing yesterday about bicyclists. And strangely enough, bicyclists did not get mad at me yesterday. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean they agreed with me? Or does that mean that no bicyclists listen anymore? Nick says, nope, can't do a Rubik's Cube. Joseph says, not that, or I can do one. Not that fast, though. Rod says, since 84, but never solved. Which is probably like me. Cactus Man says, still trying to organize my closet. So that's the Rubik's Cube. Renee says, Google tells you how, but can't you mix it up? So how does Google know? It's not like the Rubik's Cube starts on the same settings every single time. Like, I feel like you just take a Rubik's Cube and you just mess it up and then you start solving it. But I can't. If I were to do this Rubik's Cube thing, I don't think that I would. Cheat and go to Google. Gator Padre says too lazy to try. Cesar says, yeah, it's just a bunch of patterns. Well, I mean, I understand that. Your brains are much better than mine if you could figure out their patterns. See, I feel like the Rubik's Cube needs like a math brain. Joseph also says, not sure if Skraby has the patience to do it. Yeah, probably not. I'm one of those guys. Oh, Nick says something. Wow, yes. Nick says something very good. Great show idea for the YouTube. Skraby Cube Challenge. That is a really good idea. I think I might have to do that. And McKee says, I remember when they tried to make cup stacking cool back in the early 90s. We all laughed. Carl says he could do a Rubik's Cube. Okay, everybody keeps telling me YouTube, it's same patterns in different steps, but okay, I'm going to Google this. We're just going to Google it. How to solve a Rubik's Cube. And I want to see what pops up because I feel like you could put it in a million different variations. Oh, there are a ton of videos. Learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube in 10 minutes. All right, well, I can't really do that on the air, but maybe I will do that over the weekend. I got to figure this out. Inverted down, inverted right, left. It's okay. I get it. I'm not saying that you guys are wrong. I'm not saying that you guys are wrong about the Rubik's Cube being easily solved. I'm just saying I don't get it. So maybe I'll have to do that. Tyler said that I was a volunteer judge for one of these tournaments. It's crazy impressive. It is crazy impressive. Padres Diehard says, I played sports growing up. I never tried it. That's kind of funny. Joseph says, hey, M. McKee. Whoa. I love stacking in speed cups. Anyway. Who on the Padres can do it? M. McKee says, King? I don't know if this was a thing, if they actually did it, but I would think that Michael King might be the guy to do it. But do you think, let me think about someone else on the team. Do you think that Tyler Wade could do it? I don't know. He's got a lot of time, I guess. But Michael King definitely seems like he could do it. All right, Cesar is making me want to go look at this YouTube. You could solve it from any pattern, no matter what, or no matter how much you move it. Oh, Cactus Man said Darvish could, I'm sure. Yeah, I think that Darvish could. Darvish could probably do it in 3.12 seconds or something like that because he's that cool. And he's starting on Saturday. Thank you. All right, I'm off of the Rubik's Cube. I saw that video earlier and I was like, this is incredible. This is incredible. Cesar has a suggestion to the Padres video board people. If they did it in between innings to see which Padres player could solve it fastest, that would be a good video. But I think I'm going to get a Rubik's Cube and do a YouTube video about it and see how long it takes me. Just like literally go live, and I'm going to go an hour and see if I can solve it in an hour. And I'm not going to cheat. Because that would be unfortunate. All right, I told you about a big extension in the NFL, and that would be TJ Watt of the Steelers. TJ Watt, very important. He's won many, many defensive players of the year, but they have signed him to a 3-year, $123 million extension, which makes him the top paid non-quarterback in league history. It means that he will probably end up finishing his days with the Steelers, they say. But if there's one person I think that deserves something like this, it's going to be TJ Watt. He's very good. And the Steelers defense is just not good without him. It's not. And you can see the difference in the defense when TJ Watt is not on the field. And TJ Watt has just been terrorizing offenses ever since he got into the league. And he was he's a 4-time All-Pro, a 2021 Defensive Player of the Year. And they drafted him 30th overall in 2017. So he's 8 years in. He definitely deserves this, and I think the Steelers really had no other choice but to do this because they would not be able to find anyone either in their draft class or trade or anything to replace TJ Watt. He is irreplaceable, and that's why you pay him 3 years and $123 million. So hard worker, seems like a good guy. I don't have any issues with an NFL team giving him 3 years and $123 million. I'm glad that I don't have to play against TJ Watt, or my team doesn't have to play against TJ Watt a lot, because he terrorizes all offenses and all quarterbacks. They probably see him in their dreams.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Katrina, the in-house, what am I trying to say here? The in-house Steelers fan, all the money and 0 rings or playoff wins by the time he retires. All right, my daily gripe. I'm gonna do my daily gripe on Buddy on the chat. Buddy is a guy who does nothing but complain about the team. And when you try to get back at him and say, "Hey, explain this," Buddy doesn't explain. Buddy says Dylan Cease, quote, is a good pitcher. And he calls him Dylan Clevenger. Has 3 wins and 19 starts, 3-9 with an ERA over 5. Hardly good. But if I were to type back to Buddy right here, he wouldn't even respond. He just comes in the chat, trashes the team that I think he likes, and then leaves. So there's my daily gripe. Buddy, if you're going to be a buddy, then be a buddy. Don't be a hater. Thank you for listening, Buddy. Thank you for watching. Buddy is not even writing back now. He's probably just writing his next point, and then he's going to, close out. Anyway, that's it for me. So here we go. Padres baseball tomorrow. We start at 2 p.m. Bennewood, 6 a.m. Have a great night, everybody.